The Hall of Concordance had witnessed the rise and fall of civilizations for over 12,000 years. Beneath its towering crystal domes, representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered whenever the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Wars had been declared there. Empires had been dismantled there. Entire species had seen their futures decided within those walls. Yet on this day, a different target stood at the center of attention: humanity. The enormous chamber buzzed with anticipation as delegates filled their assigned platforms. Holographic banners floated above each delegation, displaying symbols recognized across known space. Military powers occupied the most prominent positions. Trade federations clustered together. Ancient races watched from elevated galleries with silent interest. At the center stood Earth's diplomatic envoy. Ambassador Elias Ward looked almost insignificant compared to many of the beings surrounding him. Some delegates towered over him physically. Others possessed technology older than human civilization itself. Yet, humanity had earned respect through a different path. For nearly 3 centuries, humans had become known as problem solvers. They brokered peace treaties between rivals, shared agricultural breakthroughs with struggling colonies, and provided disaster relief without demanding territory or political concessions in return. Where others saw opportunities for expansion, humanity offered cooperation. That reputation should have earned trust. Instead, it had created suspicion. The session opened with accusations delivered one after another. A representative from the Fourth Dominion claimed human influence had become excessive within interstellar trade networks. Another argued that Earth manipulated weaker civilizations through economic partnerships. Several delegates insisted humanity's growing popularity threatened the balance of galactic power. Ward listened patiently. He had expected hostility. What surprised him was the complete absence of evidence. Every claim relied on fear rather than facts. When granted permission to respond, the ambassador stepped forward calmly. "Humanity has never seized a member world," he said. "We have never annexed foreign territory. We have never forced a civilization into alliance. Every partnership we maintain exists by mutual agreement." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Nobody challenged the statement because nobody could. The records were public. Humanity's expansion had occurred through cooperation, not conquest. Yet the facts changed nothing. A senior delegate from a powerful military coalition rose next. "That is exactly the problem," the alien declared. "No species rises this quickly without hidden ambitions. Your influence expands while your fleets remain small. Your reach grows while your military remains dormant. Either humanity possesses motives it refuses to reveal, or it expects us to believe it achieved all this through goodwill alone." Many delegates signaled agreement. Ward felt disappointment settle in his chest. Not anger, disappointment. For decades, Earth had worked tirelessly to build trust across the galaxy. Human scientists shared technologies that could have remained exclusive. Human diplomats resolved conflicts that did not involve Earth at all. Human corporations invested in struggling systems and helped rebuild shattered economies. Now those same efforts were being used as evidence against them. The coalition presented its proposal: economic sanctions, restricted trade access, suspension from key political councils, limitations on human expansion beyond current borders. The measures were severe enough to isolate Earth from much of civilized space. Ward immediately offered alternatives: independent oversight, joint economic reviews, multi-species monitoring programs, open inspections of human facilities. Every compromise was rejected, every concession dismissed. The outcome had clearly been decided before the meeting began. As debate continued, even neutral observers started recognizing the truth. This was not an investigation. It was a verdict searching for justification. Hours later, voting protocols commenced. Lights illuminated across hundreds of platforms. The results appeared above the chamber in enormous streams of glowing symbols. One by one, civilizations voted in favor of sanctions. The count climbed relentlessly. The final margin was overwhelming. Earth had lost. Silence settled over the hall. Many delegates appeared relieved. Others seemed satisfied. A few looked uncomfortable, realizing they had just punished the one species that consistently sought peaceful solutions. Ambassador Ward studied the results for several seconds. Then, he straightened his uniform and requested permission for a final statement. The chamber granted it immediately. His voice remained steady. There was no bitterness, no threat, no pleading. Humanity came to this galaxy with open hands, he said. We offered friendship where others offered fear. We built bridges where others built walls. Today you have chosen a different path. The hall remained silent. Ward looked across the countless representatives before speaking one last time. History will remember this moment. We came offering peace. Without another word, he turned and left the chamber. Most delegates watched him go with indifference. A handful felt uneasy. None of them understood they had just witnessed the final diplomatic act of humanity. And none of them imagined how much that mistake would cost. The galaxy expected Earth to react exactly as every sanctioned civilization had reacted before. Political isolation usually produced desperation. Economies weakened. Governments fractured. Leaders returned to the assembly seeking forgiveness and favorable negotiations. The coalition that had engineered humanity's punishment assumed the same pattern would unfold within months. Instead, humanity did something no one expected. It went quiet. At first, the change seemed subtle. Human diplomats stopped attending international conferences. Representatives who had once been present at every major negotiation simply vanished from public view. Embassies remained open for a short period, but communication became increasingly limited. Requests for meetings were politely declined. Invitations were ignored. Then the embassies closed. One after another, human facilities across foreign worlds shut their doors. Staff departed without explanation. Trade offices emptied. Cultural centers ceased operations. Within weeks, the vast diplomatic network humanity had spent centuries building disappeared. Observers assumed anger was responsible. They were wrong. The silence was organized, deliberate, purposeful. Trade routes soon reflected the same pattern. Human cargo vessels that once connected hundreds of systems abruptly changed course. Entire shipping fleets withdrew toward Earth-controlled space. Commercial contracts were terminated. Joint ventures ended. Financial exchanges halted. Many coalition leaders celebrated. They believed the sanctions were working. What they failed to notice was that humanity wasn't suffering from isolation. Humanity was preparing for it. As months passed, long-range observatories began reporting unusual activity near human territory. Massive energy readings appeared throughout the Sol system and neighboring colonies. Industrial output reached levels never recorded before. Raw materials vanished from galactic markets because human corporations purchased enormous quantities before severing external commerce. Curiosity slowly replaced confidence. What exactly were humans building? No official answers came. Surveillance probes dispatched near human space delivered fragmented information before being intercepted or disabled. The few images that returned created more questions than explanations. Gigantic orbital structures surrounded multiple worlds. Asteroid belts were being dismantled on an industrial scale. Entire moons appeared covered in construction arrays. Some analysts argued humanity was building economic infrastructure designed to survive long-term isolation. Others suspected large-scale colonization efforts beyond explored space. Military strategists offered a more concerning theory: war preparation. The possibility was initially dismissed. Humanity had never demonstrated aggressive intentions. Their defense fleets remained modest compared to major military powers. Their public doctrine emphasized diplomacy above force. Yet the evidence continued accumulating. Reconnaissance vessels detected shipyards stretching thousands of kilometers through space. Automated factories operated continuously around gas giants. Energy signatures suggested manufacturing capacities capable of producing fleets unlike anything previously associated with Earth. Alarm spread quietly among coalition leadership. Orders were issued for deeper surveillance. The next reports erased any remaining certainty. Observers discovered enormous vessels under construction within protected sectors. Their exact purpose remained unknown because no comparable designs existed within galactic databases. Some exceeded the size of major space stations. Others appeared optimized for combat on a scale never previously attempted. Military analysts spent weeks studying the data. None of them reached reassuring conclusions. Then, humanity finally broke its silence. Without warning, every communication network in known space was interrupted simultaneously. Civilian broadcasts froze. Military channels paused. Commercial transmissions stopped. For several seconds, the entire galaxy listened to nothing. Then a single image appeared across billions of screens. The Secretary General of Earth. No guards stood beside her. No military symbols decorated the background. No signs of intimidation accompanied the broadcast. She simply looked into the camera with calm, steady eyes. When humanity first reached the stars, she began, we carried the lessons of our past with us. We understood conflict. We understood division. Most importantly, we understood the cost of both. Across countless worlds, citizens watched in silence. We chose cooperation because we believed every civilization deserved the opportunity to prosper without fear. We shared knowledge because progress benefits all. We offered friendship because peace creates possibilities war can never achieve. Her expression never changed. For centuries, we honored those principles. We accepted insults. We accepted suspicion. We accepted restrictions. We did so because maintaining peace mattered more than pride. The galaxy listened carefully now. Even hardened military leaders sensed something different beneath her measured tone. Then came the sentence that would echo through history. You interpreted restraint as weakness. No anger accompanied the words. That made them more unsettling. We will not petition for acceptance. We will not seek reconciliation. We will not negotiate our right to exist. This transmission marks humanity's final diplomatic message. Silence followed. Entire governments waited for threats. None came. The Secretary General simply delivered one final statement. We tried cooperation. We tried understanding. We tried peace. She paused briefly. Now you will meet the other side of humanity. The transmission ended instantly. No further explanation followed. No demands. No ultimatums. Nothing. For several moments, many viewers laughed nervously. Politicians dismissed the message as political theater. Commentators called it an emotional response from an isolated species. But inside military command centers across the galaxy, laughter died quickly. Because every officer studying humanity's recent activities had reached the same terrifying conclusion. Whatever Earth had been building all this time, it was finally ready. The coalition eventually convinced itself that humanity's warning meant nothing. Their analysts produced countless reports explaining why Earth could not possibly challenge the combined military strength of the galaxy's dominant powers. Human fleets had never fought a major interstellar war. Their military spending had remained modest for centuries. Their public doctrine emphasized defense rather than conquest. The conclusion seemed obvious. Humanity was bluffing. 3 weeks after the final transmission, the coalition authorized Operation Dawn Spear, the largest military deployment in modern galactic history. Thousands of warships gathered from dozens of member civilizations. Carrier groups, battleships, planetary assault platforms, and support fleets assembled along the borders of human-controlled space. The objective was simple. Strike first. Destroy humanity's growing military infrastructure. Force Earth into unconditional surrender before whatever preparations they had been making could be completed. Confidence filled every command center. Many officers believed the operation would last less than a week. The invasion began with overwhelming force. Fleet after fleet crossed into human territory expecting resistance. Tactical projections estimated several major battles around key colonies and industrial centers. Commanders prepared for costly but manageable engagements. Instead, they found emptiness. The first systems contained no patrols, no defense stations, no interception fleets. Human colonies appeared abandoned. Industrial facilities stood silent. Orbital platforms drifted motionless around planets. At first, coalition leaders celebrated. They assumed humanity had lost its nerve and withdrawn deeper into its territory. Then communications started failing. Not completely. Just enough to create confusion. Long-range transmissions became distorted. Navigation data arrived seconds late. Sensor arrays reported conflicting information. Entire squadrons began receiving different tactical updates despite operating from the same command network. Engineers blamed software errors. They were wrong. The deeper coalition fleets advanced, the worse the disruptions became. Then ships started disappearing. A reconnaissance group vanished while moving through a supposedly secure corridor. No distress call. No debris. No evidence of attack. Hours later, a destroyer squadron suffered the same fate. Commanders demanded answers. None came. Fear began replacing confidence. The first major engagement occurred near a remote star system considered strategically insignificant. Coalition vessels entered the region expecting to establish a forward operating base. Instead, hundreds of unidentified contacts appeared simultaneously across their sensor grids. Human ships. Not dozens. Not hundreds. Thousands. They emerged from positions coalition scanners had declared empty moments earlier. Before targeting solutions could be established, human electronic warfare systems activated. Every display aboard coalition vessels erupted into chaos. Sensors failed. Communications collapsed. Targeting systems became useless. Entire formations suddenly found themselves blind. Then the attacks began. Human warships moved with terrifying precision. They struck command vessels first, eliminating coordination before destroying frontline units. Swarms of autonomous drones overwhelmed defensive batteries through sheer speed and numbers. Precision strikes crippled engines rather than wasting firepower on unnecessary destruction. Within 40 minutes, one of the coalition's largest fleets ceased to exist as an organized fighting force. News of the defeat spread rapidly. Military leaders dismissed it as an isolated setback. They ordered additional forces forward. The next engagements ended even worse. Every strategy coalition commanders attempted had already been anticipated. Ambushes failed. Flanking maneuvers failed. Defensive formations failed. It was as if humanity knew exactly how every species in the galaxy preferred to fight. The reason soon became horrifyingly clear. Captured intelligence databases revealed decades of preparation. Human military academies had spent centuries studying every known conflict. Every campaign, every doctrine, every tactical philosophy had been analyzed in exhaustive detail. While the galaxy assumed humanity had abandoned warfare, humans had transformed its study into a science. They understood their opponents better than those opponents understood themselves. The war rapidly became a disaster. Entire armadas were trapped, isolated, and dismantled piece by piece. Supply routes vanished. Communications networks collapsed. Coalition commanders struggled to coordinate even basic operations while human forces maintained flawless synchronization across vast distances. On the third day, the coalition launched one final massive offensive. More ships participated than in any battle previously recorded. The result was catastrophic. Human fleets executed a perfectly coordinated counterattack that shattered the armada within hours. Command vessels were neutralized. Carrier groups surrendered. Survivors retreated in complete disorder. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy witnessed something it thought impossible. The coalition had lost. Not after years of fighting. Not after months. 3 days. 3 days were all humanity needed to dismantle the military power that had dominated interstellar politics for generations. Then Earth transmitted a single message across every remaining battlefield. The words were calm, direct, unmistakable. The war is over. And for the first time since humanity entered the stars, the entire galaxy understood exactly how dangerous peace had been keeping them safe from. The surrender shocked the galaxy more than the war itself. For generations, the coalition had represented the highest concentration of military power ever assembled. Entire civilizations had built their security around the belief that those fleets were invincible. Watching them collapse in only 3 days shattered assumptions that had existed for centuries. What followed surprised everyone even more. The defeated commanders expected punishment. Many prepared themselves for imprisonment, public humiliation, or execution. Throughout galactic history, victorious powers rarely showed mercy after conflicts of this scale. Entire governments had disappeared following smaller wars. Humanity chose a different path. Captured personnel received medical treatment, regardless of rank or species. Wounded soldiers were stabilized and returned to health. Prisoners were provided comfortable living quarters. Families received confirmation that loved ones were alive. Supply shipments reached occupied worlds to prevent shortages and humanitarian crises. No revenge campaigns followed. No planets were annexed. No populations were enslaved. The contrast confused coalition leaders almost as much as their defeat. One imprisoned admiral eventually asked a human officer the question many were thinking. Why are you treating us this way? The answer came immediately. Because the war ended. For humanity, victory did not create a license for cruelty. As tensions gradually eased, diplomatic channels reopened under heavily controlled conditions. Human leadership allowed independent historians, researchers, and political observers access to archives that had remained classified for centuries. The decision appeared strange at first. Many assumed Earth intended to justify its actions through selective information. Instead, humanity revealed its past. The findings stunned every civilization that reviewed them. Most species entered the stars only after achieving long periods of planetary stability. Humanity's path had been very different. The archives documented thousands of years of conflict. Ancient kingdoms rising and falling through conquest. Empires built through war. Civil wars that divided nations. Global conflicts involving entire continents. Weapons capable of destroying cities. Then came the records that shocked alien observers most. Humanity had nearly destroyed itself more than once. Nuclear arsenals had once placed civilization on the edge of extinction. Ideological rivalries had threatened entire populations. Competition for resources, territory, and power had repeatedly pushed humanity toward catastrophe. Alien scholars struggled to understand how such a species survived long enough to reach space. Yet the deeper they studied, the clearer the answer became. Humanity survived because it learned. Every disaster left lessons. Every conflict forced change. Every tragedy created pressure to improve. Instead of glorifying violence, humans gradually developed systems designed to restrain it. Laws evolved. Institutions strengthened. Cooperation expanded. Peace became a goal pursued through effort rather than an automatic condition of existence. The realization transformed how the galaxy viewed Earth. Humanity had not been peaceful because it lacked the ability to fight. Humanity had been peaceful because it understood exactly what fighting cost. Their restraint had never come from weakness. It came from experience. Generations of suffering had taught them something most civilizations never needed to learn firsthand. Power without control was dangerous. As these revelations spread, public opinion throughout the galaxy began shifting dramatically. Citizens who once supported sanctions now questioned their leaders. Commentators revisited old assumptions. Historians compared humanity's choices to those of species that had enjoyed relatively stable development. The comparison was uncomfortable. Many civilizations had mistaken a conscious decision for a natural limitation. They assumed humans avoided war because they feared it. The truth was almost the opposite. Humans avoided war because they knew it too well. Several former coalition leaders were eventually granted direct meetings with Earth's governing council. They arrived carrying questions that had haunted them since the surrender. One representative finally voiced the most important one. If all of this was true, why did you never tell us? The room remained silent for several moments. Then the Secretary General answered, because we hoped nobody would force us to prove it. No one challenged the response. There was nothing to say. The evidence spoke for itself. The galaxy had spent centuries judging humanity by appearances while ignoring actions. When peace was offered, it was treated as deception. When cooperation was extended, it was viewed as manipulation. When patience was demonstrated, it was mistaken for weakness. Now, the consequences of those mistakes stood before everyone. Yet before meaningful reconciliation could begin, a new problem emerged. Astronomers operating deep space observation networks detected something approaching from beyond the explored frontier. At first, the signals appeared insignificant. Then additional observations arrived. The objects were enormous, ancient, moving toward known space. And whatever was coming made the recently defeated coalition fleets look insignificant by comparison. For the first time in generations, the entire galaxy faced a threat greater than itself. And humanity was the only civilization that seemed unsurprised by its arrival. The approaching force entered known space 6 months after its initial detection. By then, hundreds of observatories had confirmed the same terrifying reality. The objects were not exploration vessels, refugees, or automated probes. They were war fleets belonging to an ancient civilization that existed long before most species in the galaxy had discovered agriculture. Fragments of recovered records eventually revealed their identity. They were known as the Sovereign Ascendancy. For thousands of years, they had moved from galaxy to galaxy consuming resources, dismantling civilizations, and absorbing anything useful into their vast empire. Worlds that surrendered became labor colonies. Worlds that resisted disappeared completely. Their arrival triggered panic across known space. The coalition that once dominated galactic affairs had lost much of its military strength during the war against humanity. Independent powers lacked coordination. Trade networks fractured as governments focused entirely on self-preservation. Fear spread faster than information. Many expected humanity to remain neutral. Some believed Earth might even welcome the crisis. After all, the same civilizations now begging for help were the ones that had sanctioned, isolated, and attacked them. Humanity had every reason to walk away. Instead, Earth called for an emergency summit. Representatives from hundreds of species attended. The atmosphere was tense. No one knew what humanity intended. The Secretary-General addressed the gathering. "The mistakes of the past are irrelevant," she said. "The threat approaching our galaxy does not distinguish between allies and enemies. If we stand divided, we disappear divided." The simplicity of the statement carried enormous weight. No demands followed. No conditions. No requests for authority. Humanity offered assistance without seeking repayment. For many delegates, that moment became more powerful than the military victory that came before it. Mobilization began immediately. Hidden shipyards revealed their full capacity. Massive fleets emerged from secure sectors previously unknown to outsiders. Fortress stations activated throughout strategic corridors. Autonomous defense networks came online across dozens of systems. Even humanity's former enemies were shocked by the scale. The preparations had not been designed for conquest. They had been designed for survival. As the ascendancy advanced, Earth shared military technologies with every willing civilization. Defensive systems were distributed freely. Intelligence networks merged. Joint commands formed across former political boundaries. For the first time in galactic history, nearly every major species fought under a unified strategic framework. The first clashes were brutal. The Ascendancy possessed immense resources and centuries of combat experience. Entire battle groups vanished during opening engagements. Several frontier systems fell despite desperate resistance. Yet something unexpected happened. Their advance slowed. Then it stalled. Human strategists anticipated their movements with remarkable accuracy. Supply routes were disrupted. Communication hubs were targeted. Resource convoys disappeared. Every kilometer of progress cost the invaders far more than expected. The conflict expanded into the largest war ever recorded. Star systems became defensive strongholds. Fleets numbering in the millions fought across vast regions of space. Every civilization contributed whatever strength it possessed. Humanity remained at the center of the effort, not because they commanded the largest fleets, because they kept everyone united. Again and again, Earth rejected proposals that would have concentrated absolute authority in human hands. Decisions remained collective. Resources remained shared. Cooperation remained the foundation of every major operation. Eventually, that unity became the decisive advantage. The Ascendancy had conquered countless civilizations because their opponents always fought alone. This time they faced an entire galaxy acting as one. The final campaign lasted weeks. Coordinated offensives struck enemy strongholds simultaneously. Supply chains collapsed. Strategic command centers were neutralized. The invaders gradually lost the ability to sustain their operations. When the last Ascendancy fleet withdrew beyond the galactic frontier, celebrations erupted across thousands of worlds. The galaxy had survived. Years later, the rebuilt assembly gathered once more beneath the crystal domes of the Hall of Concordance. This time the mood was very different. A proposal was introduced granting humanity permanent supreme authority over galactic affairs. The measure would have passed unanimously. Humanity declined. The decision surprised no one who truly understood them. Power had never been their goal. The Assembly instead formed a new alliance built upon equal representation, mutual defense, and shared responsibility. At the entrance to the hall, a monument was constructed bearing words every visitor would see. "We tried peace. You mistook it for weakness. We defended you anyway." Generations later, children across countless worlds studied humanity's story. Not as the tale of a species that won wars. Not as the tale of a civilization that achieved dominance. But as the story of a people who understood destruction better than most, possessed the strength to rule everyone, and chose cooperation instead. Because the most dangerous humans were never the ones eager for battle. They were the ones who knew exactly what war could do, and spent every day trying to prevent it.